Currently in Sri Lanka, we are in the post-Aragalaya situation. But let's look at the Aragalaya for a start. What the Aragalaya talked about is getting one family that had tried to capture power, a sort of dynastic capture of the state, and govern irrespective of the norms and the traditions of democratic governance anywhere in the world. That has now moved into a phase where Sri Lanka has to implement the IMF conditionalities with regard to taxes, with regard to getting rid of state-owned enterprises, with regard to electricity prices, and a whole lot of other issues which pose challenges and indeed difficulties for the people at large. President Wickremesinghe's government seems to take the attitude that he came into office to save the economy, and therefore that is his one and only priority. All other factors are secondary if they exist at all. What does this mean? This means, therefore, that if you are going to protest, if you're going to criticize the government with regard to what it is doing via the IMF staff agreement, the framework by which we are going to restructure our debt, you are going to be told that you can't be too disruptive. If you are too disruptive, the forces of the state, the law and order machinery of the state will be brought to bear on you, in addition to tear gas and water cannon. Now, the point here is this, is that, look, who do the people have recourse to when it comes to them exercising their fundamental rights of freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom to criticize, freedom to dissent? They have to go to the courts. Now, we have a situation in Sri Lanka where effectively we are going to court to ask the courts to determine whether there should be elections in this country or not. Now, this is really quite absurd. We have three arms of government: the executive that executes the laws, the legislature that makes the laws, and the judiciary that interprets the law. So in effect, the court can get involved in a matter if there is an issue of law involved. But in the absence of a system of government working effectively, where one arm of government is a check on the other, we then disproportionately become reliant on one particular arm, i.e. the judiciary. Now, this is very dangerous, because if you draw the judiciary into politics, that whole idea of the rule of law, equality before the law, is challenged. Furthermore, the legislature will take the attitude, and indeed it has in terms of the Privileges and Ethics Committee of Parliament, that the court is overstepping their bounds, that the court is trying to become all-powerful, and therefore the court loses its independence. It becomes somewhat political in the way that it functions. So in a sense, in Sri Lanka, our challenge is to reset the architecture of governance: executive, legislature, and judiciary. Power must be dispersed. Each one must act as a check and balance on the other if we are to have the basic structure of good governance in our country.